Hey guys, good morning. It's like 3:30 in the morning. Can't sleep. I've been helping someone with a murder from 1986 and it's not the sort of thing you can just switch off and walk away from. And all I can smell is blood. Dry, hot blood. It's just like seeping through my nostrils. It's making me feel so sick. But it hits you because she's a mum, you know, she left behind kids and the children want closure. There's stories and conspiracy theories and police opinions and coroner reports and blah 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 that they're, you know, all saying different things and the kids just want to know. So one of them came to me. But it's hard when you have to tell them that it was murder. You wish you could say, oh no, she fell and hit her head. I like those ones. Or, I'm sorry, it wasn't murder, it was suicide. They're hard as well. Not that you want it to be murder, but nobody wants to, you know, a lot of people have a hard time admitting to their loved one having committed suicide. They often find that more hard to cope with than the death itself. So, I always just want to do a good job for them, you know. Bring them closure. I deal with so many aspects of my job, I love it. Because I'm a Scorpio as well, and one of our suited professions is like a private eye, detective. Because we like to get to the bottom of things, you know, like we like to solve things. I grew up trying to solve murders, but I never give my opinion until I sit on it for a while, you know. Even if I'm 100% certain right from the beginning, I don't say anything until I'm 100% right with how I feel, because I don't want to get it wrong for people. I don't want to like add further to their grief, you know, so I try to be as gentle as I can. I don't charge money or anything, I do all that stuff for free. It's the right thing to do. I could never charge for anything like that, that would make me feel sick. I just can't stop thinking about this poor mum. You know what would happen to my boys if that was me? Because at some point it's going to be the three of us in America. You know, I've got to make big decisions about who I want in my boys' lives and who I'm going to trust when I'm over there, and, you know, who I'm going to trust that should anything happen to me, do they have a safe house until their dad can get to them, that sort of thing. And I found out from one of my girls today that I'm going through something called a DNA activation. And And that's why everything's happening the way it is, why my looks are changing and why everything's... Instead of 2 strands of DNA, you get like an extra strand of DNA, or like there's 12 strands and you get like an extra 2, or it's something like that, I don't know. But it involves like, you gotta sift through, you feel a need to sift through once and for all the people, thought patterns. You know, it's kind of like a maintenance check. Have I made the right choices? Who am I keeping in my life once and for all? Who am I getting rid of once and for all? Like, and then making that final cut and ending it and walking away is then the start of deactivation or something like that, I don't know. I'm still learning as I go. But it gives you enhanced gift. So it explains a lot. I just don't understand why people do this to each other. When we have a world of oceans full of majestic beasts and landscapes so vast and varied, you can be in a forest oasis 1 minute, in a desert so alien it looks like you're walking on a different planet, all under our feet, and all people care about is sex and money. I don't understand why everybody feels the need to want to live up to other people's expectations of them, when other people's expectations of them are never going to be an appreciation of who they really are. People don't understand if they don't live their true selves in this life, they have to come back and be a voice in the head of the next person they become. They haunt themselves. You end up haunting yourself for every life that you have. You will never be complete in this life if you aren't living your true life. Like, adults have forgotten how to have fun. Nobody laughs anymore. Everyone's so serious. And it's not just because of the COVID thing. I've been doing this job for decades. I've seen the decline. It's heartbreaking. It's like you have to let that inner child out. Your inner child knows you better than you know yourself. We as children tell ourselves the things that make us the happiest, and yet it's all the stuff we walk away from when we become adults. All the things that you love doing as a kid, they're setting in place the tools that you need to make you happy as an adult. If you liked dressing up and living in imagination land, then when you need to escape the world that you're living in, when you need to escape reality, do that as an adult. If it was cooking, if it was, see that kaki cake I made yesterday, I've been making that cake since I was 17 years old. My sister Laurie used to take it straight out the oven and plonk it on a big bowl of ice cream. I just don't want to take this life for granted. I've almost lost it a couple of times, you know. and then I almost wasted it. I gave so many of my children's years away to me, growing fatter on a bed, feeling sorry for myself, popping a crap ton of prescription pills every day, trying to kid myself into thinking it was because I was ill, that I had medical problems, fibromyalgia and a degenerative spinal disease and arthritis of the spine, and I've been in and out of hospital pretty much my entire life because of my back, and all I had to do was go off sugar. It was that simple. Everything vanished because I went off sugar, which made me want to start exercising because I had all this energy to burn. And before I knew it, the weight was coming off, and the more I was doing and the happier I was becoming, and then I activated my vagus nerve and off my ascension began. And it's been the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life. Two worst feelings in the world a woman can feel is when she's got to get a lump on her breast checked for cancer, and when she's pregnant and sees that blood and has to wait for the scan to tell her whether her baby has a heartbeat or not. But this ascension has been brutal. It's like you have to watch your own murder. You see everything from a second perspective, from a conscious perspective and a physical perspective. It's like you have to watch yourself live your life. And you have to observe it and correct the things that you can go back and correct about yourself and the path you're going on and all that sort of stuff. And you see a lot of realities. You have to admit to a lot of things you don't want to admit to. You have to do things you don't want to do, but you have to because it's like an autocorrect. But then it irons out the kinks, and then suddenly you see the path ahead very clearly, and you're not afraid of it anymore because you know exactly where it's going to end up. That's a powerful feeling. But it's not a power to be able to go back to your past to correct your future. Is not a power that anyone can just have, because nobody wants to do the work. Nobody wants to admit their faults. And so everybody lives in a frustrated world, and then we do stupid things that send our lives down the wrong path, and we end up self-sabotaging as a form of punishment for not being one's true self. And then we do stupid things like kill a 32-year-old waitress. when all she wanted to do was come home after a long hard day's work, have a meal with her kids and a soak in the bath, put the kids to bed and have an early night. That's all she wanted. That's all she wanted. And he just snuffed her out. And he sat on her chest with such force that he broke her rib. And with one hand he choked the life out of her, and with the other he stabbed her to death. Because someone didn't raise him right. And he was full of so much anger and rage that he acted out. And that poor mum paid the price for that. And now the kids are suffering as a consequence. Because they know how she died and they are afraid that she took a long time to die. So I'll be able to give them some good news on that. And I'll also be able to tell them that from the second she went down to the instant she crossed over, all she thought about was them. She was remembering school plays and first birthday parties, and like it was like a photo album in her head. So it was the thought of her children that crossed her over. She stepped into the light thinking of her children, and I can tell them that. That's why I'm always dicking about with my kids. Because when I'm not having to deal with murders and ritual sacrifices and people wanting to kill themselves, my children keep me in the light, you know, they keep me high vibe, they keep me laughing and using my imagination and that to kind of just escape from it all. Because I can't just walk away from it, I can't just put the file down and shut off. Like I think about it and I think about it and I think about it and I won't stop thinking about it until I get to an appropriate conclusion so that I can approach the person or the family to a standard that is of my satisfaction. I always used to say to my students, if a client asks you a question, always have an answer. That's why I look at everything from like 1,000 different perspectives and angles, so that I've got an answer for them. I don't ever want to have to say to someone, I don't know. I don't know why that happened, or I don't know what that is. Because people get so easily confused. So, I just had to share. It's just a lot to take in, especially when you're a young mum. Well, not young, especially when you're a mum. I don't feel my age though, that's the thing. I can't wait to have another baby. I'd have 5 more if I could. I was thinking, my brother was talking about, he's going to be retiring in like 6-7 years. But I was thinking, I was telling my boy about this thing that my brother used to do when I was a little girl, when I was like 4, 5, 6 years old. Every Sunday, him and my sister and I would have to do this. We'd have to scare each other. And he would set up his room so that when we walked into it, like the goal was to do something in your room that when the other came in, you scare the crap out of them. Like, we'd basically turn our room into little haunted houses. But my sister and I only had us and our imaginations to do it, whereas my brother had props, and he would make props. So he'd walk into our room and get like little tiny hands trying to grab him from under the bed and making, ooh sounds, rattling curtains and things like that. And we'd walk into his room and we'd have like vampires on pulley rope systems like flying towards us, and like bats coming out of nowhere, and like he would mow lawns and things like that and use all his money to buy props that we wouldn't know about. And he would sit and imagine and engineer these big elaborate things for his room. It was so clever. And yeah, I know he probably did do the same thing more than a couple of times, but as a little girl, I don't ever recall him doing the same thing twice. And I was thinking he would be perfect for designing the Halloween and Christmas shows for the Dragonarium. I could pay him to just like put Halloween and Christmas shows together so that we could, use it as an attraction to raise money for the Dragonarium. Because with the way that I've designed everything, I don't need to build the foundation straight away. The foundation will already exist in the homes of everybody who uses it. So it gives me time. I mean, if the divine want me to have it all, I'm not going to say no. But I'm just thinking of, the simplest way to get what I want with the least amount of money first and build from there. He's going to teach my boys how to build go-karts. I said to him, you got to, build some go-karts for the Dragonarium. We'll make them all safe. and the kids can like ride around in the go-karts and stuff. I just want to make the place fun for them. If I do get to build my foundation, or I should say when, because you got to always aim for the stars, because if you don't get the stars you might still just get the moon. So yeah, I'll get my brother to do all the, and then his wife, who's an incredible seamstress, can make all of our costumes. And I'll just get my family involved. I'll just make it a family affair. My family would so come over from New Zealand and dress up to put on big shows for tourists to raise awareness for the foster home. Like, absolutely, my family would be right up for that. They could take turns at being den parents. I can't believe how simple it is. Like when I had my eureka moment, it was so simple and obvious that you kind of just wanted to punch yourself in the head and get everything you want at a fraction of the cost. And it means I can reach more people. So, and start them young. So, yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, it helps me just kind of escape to what I know I've got to go back to as soon as I turn the phone off. But I wouldn't have it any other way. If it means we're all just a little bit nicer to each other, then I'll do what I have to do. Do my bit for humanity. Alright, I'll speak to you later. Mwah.